Welcome back to the final part of Mega Man 11. Yeah, final part already, I know. First classic Mega Man game in about 12 years, in tandem with this recording that I'm doing. And like Mega Man 1, it doesn't take that long to get through it. The stages are kind of long, but they're not too bad. And we're going to be doing the entire Final Fortress in one video, because it's about as long, I'd say, as the castle in Mega Man 1. It's gonna feel longer because, well, there's not that many. It's actually kind of a short castle. Also, there's one thing about this that I'm gonna show off in about a minute here. Unlike most classic Stadia games, as you can see on the left and right, you can actually go back and save or go to the shop in between stages, which you couldn't normally do in most of the classic series. The only game you were originally able to do that in was Mega Man 8, because that was on PlayStation and Sega Saturn, where they gave you the option to save in between stages. You could do that in Mega Man 10 as well, but you could only do it on easy mode. Anyway, this is Wilys Castle, and I do have to say I love the music for this stage. It's the only music you're going to be hearing throughout this entire stage, the entire castle, but I don't mind it because it's actually a really good song. It's one of the few things that actually, like, I won't say I dislike the soundtrack to Mega Man 11, but I'd say this is the most memorable theme in Mega Man 11. It kind of invokes the same feeling of Mega Man 2's Wily theme, but not quite the same. But that's just me. But anyway, so this is the Gear Fortress, and true to its name, you're going to be jumping on a lot of gears. Also, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The weapons in this game are so good. They make going through this stage is so much easier. Especially considering a lot of this stage really likes to use surprise attacks from invisible enemies to try and knock you into the tons of pits that are in this level. So I'd say there's a couple of different ways you can get around it. You can use the speed gear, obviously. You can get rid of enemies super quick with block dropper, or you can use a powered up acid barrier, which guards against most, if not all, attacks. Like the crazy cannons on the wall there, you can't really block with the acid barrier, but you can block the shots from those enemies that split shots in 8 directions. You can block the shots from Mets and so on. So yeah, using the powers to your advantage makes this go by a lot quicker. Otherwise, this is quite a difficult stage. I would say, I'll go out on a limb and say this is probably the hardest level in the entire game. And we of course have disappearing, reappearing Yoku blocks in the only section of the game that has them, because it wouldn't be a Mega Man game without these. Thankfully, it's in a section that's very simple to understand, so you don't have to worry about falling. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of listening to the music as I'm commentating, because the song is so good. Scramble Thunder is my favorite weapon in the game. It goes across it goes up walls and stuff. It ignores defense. It's so good. It also really helps against these cannon enemies here. There's multiple different ways of getting around certain enemies, but I'd say Scramble Thunder is my favorite way of doing it. Scramble Thunder and Block Dropper. And I keep calling Rush. It's completely my fault because I'm hitting the wrong shoulder button. Now, I had difficulties with this stage the first time I played it. It goes on for quite a while, and there's certain sections of it that are quite difficult. I did mention before that I still think that this is the hardest level in the game. And even after knowing the way that the stage is laid out, I still had trouble recording this when I was doing it. But it's not the worst thing in the world. See, it's little things like this where you're getting attacked by at all angles. But if you use the powered gear and the powers themselves to your advantage, such as the powered up acid barrier here, it makes going through things a lot more manageable. You can also use the speed gear. You can use Rush Jet to fly over the entire stage if you want, although I wouldn't recommend that because it's going to use up all the weapon energy. So I'm a little bit overly cautious here with the jumps because I know that thing's coming, and then you can use the speed gear to give yourself time to avoid that and all that good stuff. I love Block Dropper. Basically just use Block Dropper and Acid Barrier and you should get through this part with little issue. The traffic cone enemies with the heat-seeking cone missiles are annoying too. So it's like it's not super easy, but I wouldn't say it's the hardest thing in the world. It's frustrating the first couple times through if you don't see what's coming, and even if you're doing it your first time, if you're using the speed gear to get through it, you should be okay. And then you gotta have at least one section like this where you gotta drop down a spiked pit. I don't know if using the speed gear while you're falling actually slows your descent, unless you're not using the power that makes you move at normal speed with the speed gear. And then you got, and again, more disappearing Yoku blocks. You can also use the pile driver to speed across the air if you use powered gear. Oh, I love Scramble Thunder. It's by far my favorite weapon in this game. Scramble Thunder is so good. Scramble Thunder and I would say Tundra Storm are the two best weapons in this entire game, at least in my opinion. I'm sure there's good utilities for every weapon that I didn't fully show off, but those are the two I get the most mileage out of in this game, if this playthrough hasn't been any indication on that. I also like how as you're going through the fortress, you can see in the background that Skull Castle is turning to reflect the position where you are in the stage. Because as per usual, the first stage is you going into the fortress and not actually being in the fortress itself. Also, this room right here took me a while. If you're not using the speed gear, getting the timing right while avoiding like the cannons on the wall and the cone missiles, that's frustrating. And also the red gears that you see on the left there. If you stand on those for too long, they do fall, so you got to be careful about that. But yeah, see, this stage is relatively long. We're already 7 minutes into this video, and I only just now finished it. But let's go on. I mean, the stage itself was difficult, but it can't be. But the boss is probably okay. We'll see. All right, bring it on. Oh, it's you again. Yeah, Yellow Devil's back for a 6th time now, I think is how many times we've fought this guy. And he's weak to the bombs, so yeah. He'll also activate Speed Gear, which is really annoying. When he activates Speed Gear, he'll split into 6 versions of himself, and then only one section of it's actually vulnerable. You can only damage the one where the eye is open. But powered up Chain Blast brings him down no problem. If you just spam Chain Blast and have at least one energy tank and one weapon tank, you'll beat Yellow Devil no problem. You can also, I'm gonna keep bringing it up, Speed Gear is super helpful, especially when bosses use Speed Gear on you. Now, since I didn't get a chance to fully explain it, Yellow Devil in this game basically fights exactly the same way as he did in Mega Man 1. His blob pattern is exactly the same as it was in Mega Man 1. The only major difference is when he uses Speed Gear to split into like 7 versions of himself, and in which case you just have to slide it and then just blast the one with that open eye. Alright, so moving on to Wilys Stage 2, which is unfortunately the last real stage of this game. you're being chased by a giant skull grinder the entire stage, and that skull grinder is a one-hit kill, so you gotta move quickly. Use speed gear again. And then you got the Common Rider enemies from Blast Man again. But then you also have a lot of... then you have these dispensers that let you refill on energy and such. But this whole stage, pretty much the entire stage, is you being chased by these grinders. So use the speed gear, or don't. You don't have to. Just be careful because you're going to be dealing with a lot of enemies that are blocking or have high defense, like these shield attackers or the Sniper Joes. So keep that in mind while you're also being chased by that one-hit kill grinder. This is why speed gear is helpful. It gives you time to avoid it or to just power through these enemies. You can also use special weapons. You can... I think Blazing Torch actually gets through most shield enemies and destroys them in one hit, including Sniper Joes. Then we got this thing here. I have no idea what this thing is supposed to be, but you can take it down super fast with the pile driver, as you'll see in about a second here, and it's done. Yeah, pile driver is weird. It's good for speedrunning, and it's good for certain enemies. It doesn't destroy every enemy in one hit, but the ones it does, oh boy, does it make things fun. Oh god, these shield attackers, they can actually block Dropper. Those jerks. But yeah, this stage, comparatively to the first stage, this stage is a lot easier. The only real difficult part are the skull grinders, because of the one-hit kill section. And it's nowhere near as bad as the one-hit kill sections in Torchman Stage. So... this stage also has a lot of Sniper Joes. I don't know why that one drops down and then hops into position. It's like he's late to the party or something. There's a... well, yeah. In terms of the castle stages themselves, I still say this is a fun castle. One of the easier ones. But, I don't necessarily think easy means bad. Sometimes it's fun to just go through a nice, easy gauntlet stage. Although it's not even gauntlets anymore because you can save in between stages. So even that part's... although that might change. I don't know if they remove... no, they don't. No, they don't. Never mind. I was about to say, I don't know if they removed being able to save between stages in the higher difficulties, but they don't. You can save on any difficulty at any point. You can also go back and buy more energy tanks if you need them. Man, I love this I love the stage music so much, though. I know I brought it up a couple of times, but man, the castle stages in pretty much every Mega Man game are always the best songs in the game. I don't know entirely why. They just save the best music for last, I guess. Even if this is the only castle stage in the game, it's so good, I don't even care that it's the only one. The stage gives you a lot more chances to recover your energy, too, so it's definitely a lot easier. Sometimes it makes me think maybe this should have been stage 1 and the first stage should have been the second stage instead. But, oh well. I guess since not much else is happening on screen here, oh no, nope, never mind. We're almost to the end of the stage anyway. I was going to go on a rant. I was going to try and, change the subject and get more... I don't know. We got one more chase segment coming up here with another grinder. And this one is a lot longer, but again, using the speed gear gives you plenty of time to avoid it. Although I think we might have one... No, we do. There should be one more. And here's where I got a little bit nervous. I'm like, this thing's not dying. Chain blast. There we go. The weapons in this game are so good. It's a rare time for me to think that I actually am using the weapons. I think the last time I used weapons this much was Mega Man 9. I like the weapons in Mega Man 10 as well, but they didn't seem to have... The stage layouts didn't seem to be designed with this level, with the weapons in mind, as opposed to Mega Man 9 and this game. And this stage goes on for a little this stage is a little bit longer. Just make sure you don't over jump here in case you don't want to hit the spikes on the ceiling here. And then this thing just pops out of the freaking pit and it keeps respawning. I think it keeps respawning. Oh no, I think this is the one that keeps respawning. But it doesn't matter. These things are easy to avoid, and I am reckless as heck because I'm almost dead. Yeah, this stage is definitely going on a lot longer. I remember it being shorter than this when I was recording. I guess when you're watching it afterwards and you realize how long it is. And once again, speed gear. This is definitely possible to do without speed gear, but man, the margin for error is so tight on that, it's almost impossible without using speed gear. Again, you can also use those explosions on the enemies, which is nice. There we go, now we're at the end. Oh man. That was a longer stage than I remember. So now we're coming up to the boss, and this boss is pretty easy. Easier than Yellow Devil, that's for sure. I apologize, I don't know the boss names in this game. And this enemy this enemy looks familiar to something in a previous Mega Man game. I can't quite put my finger on what game it was, but something about it reminds me of a mini boss or a boss from a previous Mega Man game. But anyway, the weakness is the bounce ball. This enemy will spin around the room shooting lasers at you, and you have to break open its shell in order to do damage to it in the center. The bounce ball will break open its shell in about 2 or 3 hits. Then when it goes into power gear mode, it's going to start shooting a bunch of lasers at you. It's going to shoot 3 lasers at you, and the lasers do home in on where you're standing. But the lasers will fade in before they actually fire, so it gives you time to avoid them. I beat him a little too quick because there's also a second move he can do where he summons out 2 different colored enemies. He summons out miniature versions of himself, there's a red version and a yellow version. The red versions are stronger and they'll spread around the room to attack you, and then the yellow ones will all kind of home in on you at the same time, so you're going to want to destroy them as quickly as you can.
Are you sure?
We're actually coming up on the boss rush stage already.
Are you sure?
Like I said before, that stage we were just in was the last real stage of the game, so that's a little unfortunate. But again, go back and buy items if you need to. Sometimes the load times for this game seem a little bit long, especially for the Switch, but that's okay. Excuse me. So we got... I don't know why we have like a room with these dispensers again. It's not like the game refills all your weapon energy every time you start a new level, so... Oh well. And I think here I was trying to refill my life energy so I can go in at full health, but I think this thing was being a little stingy, so I just decided, forget it. Alright, so hop on down, and if you remember Mega Man 5, this leads to a boss rush room, so enjoy. Ugh, that Torchman and Impact Man refight. Ugh, that could have gone better. But that's all that stage is the boss refights. You don't have like a fight with Whily first before going on to the final stage. No, you just go straight on to the final stage.
Stand on the threshold of the
So let's rebuy that energy tank that I used up.
Ta-da! All ready.
Thank you, Roll. Hope you enjoyed that music. The song was a previously unused boss fight track from Chrono Trigger that now actually is in Chrono Trigger if you play Chrono Trigger DS. So here we are in the final level, where we deal with nothing but these drones. Oh, and these camera robots. Now this isn't a super easy stage. You can still take damage. You got this platform that's going to rise you up. I'm already getting prepared for what's coming up. I guess that is one mildly disappointing thing about this game, is that the castle, outside of the first castle stage, this is a little bit too easy comparatively to the last couple of Mega Man games. I won't even say like just Mega Man 9. I'd say this is even easier than Mega Man 8's castle, at least. And I would say Mega Man 8's castle is one of the easier ones, since you can save between the stages and stuff too. But that's all right. Also, make sure you jump off the platform here, because otherwise you're gonna run into that grinder and it's gonna be instant death. But we're moving on to Whily himself. I guess that's where he stored all the robots.
Ah, Megaman, congratulations are in order. Congratulations to me, that is. My doppelganger did all the work.
Show yourself, Whily! I won't let you get away with all this!
Just try and stop me if you think you can. Extract you piece by piece.
Okay, so Whily Machine 11 is a drone. And it's weak to the acid barrier by a lot. Holy cow, is it weak to acid barrier. Alright, so similarly to the Whily Machine in Mega Man 10, he's going to be shooting a lot of missiles at you. The missiles that he launches forward you can hop on. And then the missiles that he drops you just have to avoid. Then during his second phase he's going to start shooting attacks from the W symbol on his machine for some reason. I don't know how that works. And while he's grinding the floor there, it'll actually damage you. And I got trapped underneath his machine by mistake. That was totally my bad. Whily, let me out, you son of a bitch. There we go. That was embarrassing. But yeah, as long as you're not reckless like me there, it's pretty easy to avoid most of his attacks. Although now I'm having difficulty with overusing stuff. Maybe I should have bought more energy. Maybe I should have bought more weapon tanks after all. Oh well, I'll just go on and deal with him the normal way as you're intended to. He'll dash at you. To avoid the dash, you just have to stay far to the left. Be cautious about the conveyor belt that's constantly pushing you to the right, though. It also makes jumping a little more difficult. Well, one more shot ought to do, and I'm doing a really bad job of getting one last shot. God, I am bad at dodging that. There we go. Hoi. But in true Mega Man fashion, Whily has his Whily Capsule. Whily Capsule 11 is here. And this thing, not too terribly bad. He's going to shoot 4 gears at you, which will home in on your location. Only one time, though, and then you can destroy them with a charge shot. After a while, he will start using the speed gear himself. That won't be until you get him about... There we go. Yeah, now he's using speed gear, which makes him invulnerable for a few seconds as he runs around as he spins around the room, shooting more gears at you. Keep in mind, you can use the speed gear to your advantage, and then when he uses power gear, he's going to make this little shield around himself, which makes hitting him a little bit more difficult. Use the speed gear to give yourself more time to slide under his attack, and just keep shooting him in the center. And as long as you've brought a full stack of energy tanks, you should beat him. You should beat Whily no problem. It's not the hardest boss in the franchise. I'd still say Whily Capsule 7 is the hardest. He's just a little bit hectic and frantic due to how fast he moves on occasion. Once you get him to about a quarter of his health, he'll change up his pattern one more time, which should be in a couple seconds here. Yep, so once you get him down to the last bits of health here, he'll go into... Oh, he's not doing it yet. Usually he activates it by now. There we go. Okay. Usually he activates this sooner. Once he gets to about a quarter of his health, he'll activate speed gear, and then this is all he's going to do. He'll teleport in and try to dash at you. He also has an hilarious quote where he shouts, "Whily always wins!" My best advice for that is to just spam block dropper because of how fast he's moving.
You leave me no choice. Time for plan B. Spare me. I'm a helpless old man. Mercy, Megaman.
Enough! You can't fool me that easily.
Drat. But don't act so cocky. I didn't lose to you. I lost to my own technology, my double gear. I'm the greatest. I'm a genius.
My, will you never learn from your mistakes?
Light. What are you doing here? You plagiarist.
Open your eyes, Whily. Look at Megaman and tell me what you see.
All I see is the instrument of my downfall.
Megaman wields tremendous power, but he has the intelligence to use it wisely. He's your vision and mine combined. If our ideas, our gears, could mesh together, Megaman would be the result. We achieved this together. It's not too late, Albert. Atone for your crimes and join me again.
Silence! My plans have only just begun, you fool! And I won't stop until I see both of you kneeling before me in utter defeat!
Hold it, Whily!
Remember this! Dr. Whily always strikes again! Farewell!
Whily!
My old friend, perhaps our gears will never mesh together.
Doctor, the fortress is collapsing! Ah! I've been searching all over the place for you!
Ah, Otto! Did you succeed?
All good, Doc! But if you don't mind my saying so, I think it's about time we blew this joint! Dr. Light, follow me!
And that's Mega Man 11. I'd like to know how Light and Otto got through the fortress while Mega Man was going through it. That would be amazing to see Dr. Light going through those 3 stages. Oh man. It's like, how the heck did you get through that stage? How the heck did you get into there, Light? Holy cow. But that's Mega Man 11, and I also am kind of a little bit disappointed that the game just kind of ends there. Maybe I'm too spoiled by the previous games where like the endings had like all those pictures and stuff going through with all the robot masters and all that. I mean, they do show us, they're going to show a slideshow of the enemies and robot masters. But what can I say that I haven't already said about Mega Man 11? Well, for one, I do like the voice cast in this game. They're all really good voice actors. I'm sure you recognize most of them from current animes and stuff if you look through the cast list right here. But I think they're good. I wouldn't say they're the best that the classic series has had, although that's not saying much considering you have what to go off of, Mega Man 8. But still, it's good. I like the voice cast. As for the game itself, when I first played it, I was kind of 50-50 on whether I liked it more or less than Mega Man 10. I initially said that I still feel that I initially said when I first finished this game that I felt that Mega Man 10 was slightly better, and I still kind of think that. I think it's just because I think Mega Man 10 just took what made Mega Man 9 work and just improved on everything that game did. So it's like, I see that as what Mega Man 9 could have been, and that I still think that Mega Man 10 is probably my favorite 8-bit Mega Man game. Also, I apologize for the black screen here. I was recording this on my Switch, so if you go idle on the Switch for too long, it does kind of go into the screen does kind of go dark and go into sleep mode. I'm wondering when I figure that out, because I think I was busy for a bit during the actual editing of this part. So sorry about that. But back to what I was going to say about... There we go. Back to what I was saying. As for this game in general, for not having a classic Mega Man game in about 8 years at the time of this game's release, I like it. It's a little bit mixed in what it's trying to do. The difficulty balance is a little bit weird. There are certain stages that feel super easy, like Blast Man, and then there's stages like Torchman that seem way more difficult without the gears in mind than they probably should be. On the subject of the power and speed gears, though, I love that mechanic. And if they do end up making a Mega Man 12, I hope they bring back the gear system, because the speed and power gears, super helpful. Really good. It's one of the few times where it's the first time in a long time that they added a new mechanic to Mega Man's arsenal. The last time they added something new the last time they added a new moveset to Mega Man was Mega Man 4 with the charge shot. So, considering they haven't updated his move list for 7 games, yeah, I think this is good, especially considering a lot of people's problems with Mega Man 9 and 10 was that they regressed back to how his playstyle was in Mega Man 2 with the lack of slide and charge shot, and those being relegated to DLC characters like Proto Man and Bass. Speaking of Proto Man and Bass, that's something about this game does feel kind of lacking. I'm wondering if, like I said, if they were just trying to be as basic as possible and they were using Mega Man 1 and 2 as a scope for the story itself, because there's no Proto Man, there's no Bass, there's no Super Adapter. And as of this recording, there hasn't been any new DLC like Mega Man 9 and 10 got to be able to play as them. And I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Maybe they're waiting for Mega Man 12 and then they'll bring Proto Man back for that. But who knows? there was they did have a Twitter post mentioning that about a year and a half ago that Capcom is working on the next Mega Man game. And you know, if they're not doing yearly releases, that's fine. It gives them more time to make a better polished game. As much as I love Mega Man, I can understand getting a new game every year stagnates the franchise and it gets people burned out on it. So as long as there's not a 12-year as long as there's not an 8 to 10 year gap between releases again, I'm fine with that. But I do like Mega Man 11. I would say it's probably my fourth favorite game next to Mega Man 2, 10, and 3. And I did find myself coming back to this game quite a bit before I actually recorded this. I haven't played it in a while because it's been like a year and I only just got a HD PVR to record Switch games. So, as you can see through my gameplay, I'm a little bit rusty with this. I'm not perfect at it, but
Mega Man reporting home.
Right on time, Mega.
But that's it for Mega Man 11. I hope these videos turned out well. This is my first actual big recording session since getting an HD PVR. I've done.
At the
Oh,
rate
sorry.
we're going, we should have all 8 robots back on their feet by dinner time.
Doctor, did you install Mega's double gear system into auto?
I did. I'll remove it later, of course, just as soon as Auto's done working.
So this is why you came all the way to the Gear Fortress.
Yes. We were able to recover all their primary components, so they should be just like new. It would be a shame to let their talents go to waste when there's still so much good they can do.
Isn't this great, Mega?
You bet.
Otto, you're slowing down. Why don't you pick up the pace?
If I go any faster, you'll be picking up my pieces. Ugh.
And we get a nice family portrait. Because apparently they actually decide to rebuild all the robots this time. They don't just leave them destroyed. But yeah, I like Mega Man 11. It's not my favorite game so far. And I do kind of still like Mega Man 10 a little bit more. But this is a good game. It was a really nice return to form for Mega Man after being absent for so long. And if they improve on this in a sequel, good on them. Say Mega Man 11 through whatever is the post-Inafune era. And for a first attempt at doing a Mega Man game without Keiji Inafune, I think it turned out well. But as I was saying before, this is kind of an experimental recording session for me. This is why I'm doing post-commentary, because I recently got myself an HD PVR a few months back. I did a test stream a couple of times to make sure I knew what I was doing, but this is my first full-on recording of a Nintendo Switch game, so I hope it turned out well. From the video footage that I've looked through, it looks nice. But yeah, I can now record HD games on Switch and PS3 and all sorts of stuff now. So look forward to that. I've got a lot more things to opening. I've got a lot more options to me now that I can record like this. So hopefully I can get myself back into actually recording again, and I'll be getting a lot more LPs out on the channel. I know it's been a long time since I've actually uploaded anything. So sorry about that. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my playthrough of Mega Man 11, and I will see you guys in my next Let's Play.